All right, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Field Between, the only podcast with a permit to operate during the government shutdown. My name is Ahmed.
I'm Yasmin.
And I think we got a pretty packed episode today, but we can catch up what's been going on.
You know how I love to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Not much. I think we're both feeling kind of anxious about work stuff.
Yes.
For different reasons.
Me not having any and you having too much.
Yeah. I'm feeling, it's not a good feeling. I'm like waking up feeling kind of physically anxious, but I know that there's an end date very much in sight. Yeah. So I'm just trying to pace myself.
Well, yesterday I found a good remedy for it. I drank 2 cups of coffee and then 1 iced latte that I made at home. And I felt really great after. I think you came home and I just like crashed.
You were not in good shape.
Not very verbal. I
think it's a sign of progress in our relationship that I didn't try and fix it. I was just like,
yeah, that was nice.
Tried to comfort you.
Yeah, I feel like in the past you would have, I don't know, maybe taken it personally or like, what's wrong with him? Or is he mad at me? Or
I think you also now have more like you got ahead of it, which is smart.
Yeah, I texted you about it.
FYI, I drank too much coffee.
And feeling despair.
Yeah, which is good. Good to communicate.
Yes, true.
That reminds me actually,
nice.
Yeah, reminds me of I just had a midterm debate for my Islamic law class, which my students crushed, but it was about the permissibility of caffeine pills for the pre-dawn meal during Ramadan. And I feel like your experiences really played into some of their arguments that caffeine can cross the line into being an intoxicant. What's
the permissibility of drinking 3 coffees in a day during Ramadan?
Well, it's the thing is that it's harder physically to get that much coffee down your, like in the morning, whereas a caffeine pill, you can like get a lot of caffeine very easily into your body.
Yeah.
I mean, you could maybe have 3 coffees, but you couldn't have like 15, but you could easily have the equivalent to 15 coffees through caffeine pills.
Yeah.
So that was kind of,
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad you seem a little better today.
Well, I've only had 1 coffee.
Yeah, that's also helpful.
It's a new day. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to crash. What do they say? The day is darkest before the dawn.
Wow. Beautiful. That's true. Yeah. Besides that, we're good. Kind of same old, honestly. Just a lot of community events that have been really lovely. But last weekend, we actually kind of pulled back a little bit because I think we were both just a little tired and needed to like recalibrate. But did our best to support as we could. And next weekend is my sister's wedding. I'm so excited. So I'm also trying to kind of pace myself because I don't want to be like exhausted when I get there. I want to be very present and, able to help out and enjoy it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What else?
That's it, really. Got a bunch of news items, but that's it in terms of personal updates. Anything else?
No. I think, we've got a lot of news happening. I've got some clips, but where do you want to start?
Do you want to start on kind of like a hopeful note?
Sure.
Okay.
I've got some hopeful clips too.
Do you?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Good. Do you want to start us off?
This is, hold on, what's your hopeful news, and I'll cue up this clip.
I wanted to spend a little time looking at a few articles about the strikes that have been happening in Italy. Mm-hmm. So these are pro-Palestine strikes. I'll read a little bit. I ended up going to the BBC because I have to say, I think this has been massively undercovered in American press. It's really one of those things I've only seen on social media. And then I have to kind of like do further research myself to find out. I mean, Googling BBC Italian strikes is not like hardcore research, but I do think it speaks to like, one, how undercovered Palestine is consistently in our press. But then also, if I'm being more generous, we're living through a moment of like massive implosion. And while the stakes are like nowhere near what's happening in Palestine, I think that like a lot of Americans just are kind of self-absorbed right now because it feels like we're on a sinking ship and there's just so much news to keep track of. So all that to say, I haven't seen it really covered, at least in my news ecosystems. But yeah, I mean, it's just really cool. I think it's important to also hold on to good news and also to kind of learn from what other people are doing. And so I've got an article here, clashes break out as Italians strike, demanding action over Gaza. This is from a week ago in the BBC. Clashes broke out on Monday after thousands of Italians took to the streets in towns and cities across their country in a day of solidarity with Palestinians coordinated by trade unions. This also just makes me really yearn for a more heavily unionized, militantly unionized country, because I think that you do, in order for there not to be repercussions against the labor force, you do need to be able to have these massive coordinated strikes. And we're definitely not in a moment where that feels possible, but it could be, like it absolutely could be. Milan and Rome saw the biggest crowds, and tensions spilled over around the central station in Milan, where some 60 police were reported hurt. I just thought that was crazy that police got hurt. I feel like whenever we have, you might have, if you have one cop get hurt, like everyone is fucked here.
Well, here, the police themselves self-report that they have all these injuries and that they have to kind of keep their head on a swivel because it's just open season on cops, and they act like they open up a trunk and get a dusting of fentanyl or some powder and then start to immediately seize. So I never trust the cop injury statistics, because what does hurt mean? Like,
absolutely. But even then, like, our police are so armed. I've never heard of a protest in the US where 60 police got banged up.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it was a big deal when someone threw like a can at that one guy's head.
Exactly. I was going to say, during the encampment protests here, like, just even the smallest acts that didn't physically hurt cops, like, even at one point when there was like this really kind of micro battle over a barrier, students who lightly pushed back against police who were, to be clear, fully pushing at them with force, just face enormous repercussions. So the idea that 60 police, I'm not like saying like, oh yay, the police got hurt, but like, it is funny that like can happen in other places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, obviously you can get charged with assaulting a police officer, and that's a thing that I guess seems to be in the legal system, is like enshrined by some sort of law or whatever, that you shouldn't hurt intentionally a police officer. But there's nothing the other way around. I mean, I feel
there's
like,
not. Yeah.
Like you can't.
They don't get charged for accidentally hurting civilians, obviously, unless they
like
kill you,
unless
and
it's
even
like
then,
egregious. But you can't.
Yeah, they have to like permanently alter your body for there to be any recourse, and even then there might not be.
Yeah, like the threshold for assaulting a police officer is so low, but then the threshold for a police officer, like police brutality or assaulting a citizen, is just like so impossibly high. And I feel like that just needs to be balanced out.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like it's one of the things that I realize how like parochial the experience of being an American can be, just in that we're like pretty geographically isolated from a lot of other places because this country is so big. Like, I'm not saying that other people can't realize this without traveling, because it's kind of a privileged thing to say. Obviously, people like read and stuff, but like I didn't realize until like later in life, like how highly militarized our everyday lives were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely just like thought that was normal growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still kind of feel like it's normal. Sometimes I have to kind of like bang my head a little bit or like look around the world to be like, oh no, like the fact that these people weren't like immediately worried for their jobs and their security. And again, at the same time as I want to be like, oh, the circumstances are different, I think it's also not an excuse for more mass mobilized action to take place here.
Yeah.
Those circumstances won't change unless we take action. So
yeah.
Just reading a little bit more. Monday's strike action brought together teachers, dock workers, and students in up to 80 towns and cities across the country. There was widespread disruption to public transport, as well as the biggest ports at Livorno and Genoa. A key metro line in Milan was shut down, and university students in Turin and Bologna blocked access to lecture halls, so really coordinated across like students and workers. Mm-hmm. And lastly, I thought this was interesting. Some of the biggest crowds were reported near the big rail hubs in Milan and Rome, with at least 20,000 protesters turning out in the Termini station of the capital. Clashes erupted outside of Milan Central Station after protesters called for a ceasefire in Gaza and burned a U.S. flag. As protesters tried to move into the station, a fringe group of black-clad protesters began throwing stones, smoke bombs, and metal girders at police. I feel like whenever you see like imagery of U.S. flags being burned in the U.S., it's always by like non-white people, and also very much like often sort of there's like an orientalized kind of cast to it to be like these crazy Muslims or Arabs or both over there, often without a whole lot of distinction. Like I think the last time I saw an American news report of an American flag being burned, it was probably in Iran. So I think it's
they say Palestinians burn American flags.
That's true.
And
yeah. So I just feel like it's really noteworthy that this like really striking imagery of an American flag being burned in Italy and Europe hasn't made it to the U.S. press. I think that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. And then I wanted to briefly mention, just kind of on the same similar subject, the Flotilla, which is headed towards Gaza and is actually like at the time of our recording pretty close to being intercepted, it seems.
I think they intercepted it last night.
Did they intercept it?
I think
this
so.
was 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost been intercepted. Okay. So we're recording on Wednesday, October 1st. Yeah. The global Sumud flotilla, so, steadfastness. I think the thing that I find heartening about this is that, like, at least when I first was hearing about the flotillas, it was often kind of like one ship. This is 40 boats, 500 people. And I just have to hope that somehow there will eventually be enough boats that I hate to say this because these people are so brave. I would never do this. I know I wouldn't. I'm not. I just value my life too much. But, like, I think at some point there has to be so many boats that they will have to, like, take massive military action against them if they want to actually break them from coming. And just the number of boats that are coming this time and the kind of more coordinated it's getting every time, I think is really heartening.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, all acts of protest, all acts of support for Palestine are important. And I'm not trying to diminish anything that we are doing or others are doing, but, like, physically, people just need to get into Palestine at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also heartening to see, like, Italy and Greece called on Israel to ensure the safety of the activists. They kind of seem to have their back more than some previous states have had the back of their citizens in some cases.
Italy backed out.
Did Italy back out from?
So Spain and
there's
Italy
still a
both
bunch of Italian politicians on board, but what do you mean by backed out?
Oh, they had sent their own military ships or naval ships to kind of accompany the ships, and people thought that it was going to be all the way to the port city, but they didn't. So
just more
and
rhetoric.
I think there were even some reports from people on board one of the ships that were saying that Italy was actually trying to sabotage something. So it's unclear. Seems like maybe the Spanish naval ship is still there, but who knows? And I don't think either of these are going to actually step in any meaningful way to deter Israel from boarding or scuttling or continuing to launch incendiary things from drones onto the ships.
Yeah, I think it also, in all of these cases, it's such a striking difference of, like, governments versus citizens, right? Like, there are a lot of Italian citizens on board.
Yeah.
And so I think, you just have to keep on getting more and more mass groups of people. But I don't think they're going to make it. I hope that they're safe, but I am heartened to see how many more of them there are this time and how much more well coordinated the effort is.
Yeah. I think since we're on Palestine, the other thing that's been going on is talk of this peace deal, which the language of peace deal right now is just so offensive given just, the level of destruction that the U.S. and Israel have wrought in Gaza and in the West Bank. But the terms of this deal were just unilaterally decided by the U.S. and by Israel.
And a few Arab nations, yeah.
The Arab nations are urging Hamas to accept the deal. I don't know how involved they were, but who knows? But essentially, it is a progressive withdrawal plan where the Israeli military continues to occupy Gaza and then withdraw a little bit to a wider zone and then occupy and withdraw. And then it looks like, they want to significantly reduce the area of Gaza. So, like, even after this, the withdrawal of the deal, they still occupy a lot of Gaza, right? And they're concentrating the population even further. And the way that Trump and Netanyahu are talking about it is that if Hamas doesn't accept this deal, we're going to exterminate you. Then they're saying we have to do what will be done and we'll do it by ourselves. And that's just that. They're making it seem like Hamas is the roadblock to peace, which even if the violence ends now and Israel fully withdraws, that's not peace, right? Like, you've destroyed generations of people, and there's nothing that you can do for the remainder of your life. Like, you could work to try to, like, fix that injustice, but it can't be.
Yeah, and this is, like you said, just, like, such an obvious attempt to kind of make it seem as if I mean, I think you'd have to be pretty uneducated to fall for this, but if you didn't know anything about what's been going on, if you're kind of like an average American citizen who doesn't know much about foreign policy, to make it seem as though like Hamas was given a choice, but it's not a choice, right? It's just kind of like a blanket order.
Yeah.
And, you know, not to take away from their evilness, but like Israel and the United States position is not surprising, but there have been a number of both Arab and Muslim majority states that have signed on. So part of the statement, or a statement that was kind of welcoming Trump's quote unquote sincere efforts, was published by the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt, which is just like incredibly shameful, like absolutely shameful. And we just know for a fact that like not just like the majority, like the vast majority, like 99% of the citizens of those countries are in support of a Palestinian state, are in support of Palestinian sovereignty. And especially like UAE and Qatar and Egypt, like that, this is the fact that they're signing on is really backing the Palestinians into a corner, because they're basically saying like, we are going to do nothing to prevent your destruction, like as our neighbor.
Right.
Yeah,
it's gross. I mean, there's a video that leaked from a meeting between, I think, an Egyptian foreign minister and Israel's delegate, and he was like pounding his fist on the table and yelling at the Israeli, and it just seemed so performative.
It's just like Biden's so mad, and Trump too, like Bibi's being irritating, like fuck you. Yeah. No,
I mean, it's you just constantly have to wonder, what does Israel have on all of these people? Because the degree of subservience and sycophancy that Trump has to Benjamin Netanyahu, one of the most annoying, least obviously like most hated people in the world. It's like, what does he have on you? You're like absolutely his like little lapdog bitch, and like, are you just like not embarrassed?
I mean, yeah, that question I understand less, but I think like why these other countries are acquiescing is really because like we are the thing behind Israel. Like Egypt would lose like a lot of aid if they didn't go along with the American plan, and like
Egypt
Qatar,
also has.
I know they have lost some, but
yeah. No. Egypt also has like a economic relationship with Israel. That's, you know, they get their power and stuff from them, and they signed that huge oil deal.
And then like, you know, Qatar probably doesn't want anyone coming into their airspace. I mean, that's the thing though. It doesn't even seem like having an American ally is that helpful in these cases, but whatever.
No, it's not.
Yeah. But yeah, as to why we kind of like keep on backing Israel, I think it's just because, I mean, I think it's just like really honestly very like basic racism in some cases of like, we don't fully see Arabs or Palestinians as human. And I think it's like the problem has gone on for so long, it almost seems easier just to end it by giving Israel what they want from like that really shitty American standpoint.
Yeah. The degree to which, I mean, people have been saying this for a while, and I think we've talked about it too. Palestine has been a testing ground for a lot of the tactics that Trump is starting to use against people in the U.S. It's obviously it's just becoming really apparent now. Like military occupation in some cities, with the threat of more, and
just called together all the generals from all around the world.
I actually wanted to talk about that because this was hilarious.
It was so stupid. Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So last week it was announced that Pete Hegseth had just called this like secret meeting that was unprecedented among all the generals and whatever military secretaries and like high-ranking people who are stationed around the world have to be in DC. And I think everyone's mind was just like, oh, this is going to be really bad.
Some people thought we were going to go to war with Venezuela.
There's that. I mean, I think we probably are going to do that, but or that they were going to announce World War III. I was thinking, oh no, they're going to do like a Saddam Hussein style purge where they just, did you ever see that video?
No.
Where Saddam calls in like a lot of government officials when he takes over the government, and he calls them into this auditorium room, and then he starts reading people's names off a list, and he's like, when I read your name, recite whatever oath or something, and then get up and then walk out of the room. And it just turns out that everyone who got up and like had their name read off was just disappeared or executed or something like that. So it's like a really scary thing to watch because he's just smoking a cigar while he's doing it. And anyway, I was just like,
not to that extent, but some people did think there was going to be mass firings, maybe not mass purgings.
Yeah. I thought they were going to do like a Saddam style purge, but it just ended up being Pete Hegseth getting up there and body shaming all the military people for like 45 minutes. And then Trump gets up there and like just babbles a bunch of bullshit at them.
A ton of it was incoherent. Yeah.
So incoherent. And then people, some people have started to talk to The Intercept and other sources to be like, yeah, this was an embarrassment. And the crowd was just so silent. I have a
They're
couple.
They're supposed to be because of the military protocol, but even Trump was making cracks about that. But yeah, I mean, it's also just like, I don't give a fuck about the military, but militarily, apparently it was like a huge risk for that many of the top generals to be in one spot. Like it took a ton of money to like get everyone there and to make sure they were protected. Yeah. Like it's not generally thought to be a good idea to have all of your top intelligence people in one place.
No, you don't do that. That's why the president and vice president don't fly on the same plane.
Right. So it was just like the whole thing was such a ridiculous show of force for what? Yeah. What are your clips?
So I have some choice clips from this meeting. Really just, again, incredible stuff.
It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only.
There's also all this dumb stuff about like
to our enemies.
Sorry. Got it. Yeah. Sorry, I got a couple more clips, but go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also all this dumb stuff about like we used to be like the woke army or something. Now we're the army of war, and it's just like. Yeah. When was the U.S. military ever woke? Like it's been.
Well, they're talking specifically about like trans soldiers and just, like, trying to recruit women.
It just shows how much all of that stuff is a gloss. Like this has been like a source of just absolute abhorrent destruction for the world.
You know what it is?
It was never actually woke. You know
what I really think it is? It's that Trump's military parade was an embarrassment, and then they saw the Chinese military parade when. Putin visited China, and they were like, holy shit.
We got to do that.
We look like absolute shit. Like the U.S. military parade was just like people shambling down the D.C. streets, and like just one faux pas from like you watching soldiers just kind of like scroll on their phones while they're marching down the DC streets. You know what I'm saying? Like it was embarrassing.
Has like very little military experience. I think he was briefly in the Navy or something, but
National
he's like
Guard.
He was only in the National Guard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm dying. That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Just like the gall of him to stand in front of all these senior people.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and be like, "You're not passing your fitness test."
He's like talking to them like Andy Elliott. I know you don't know who Andy Elliott is. I'll show you a clip. But like Pete Hegseth is like clearly just a masculinity influencers guy.
Yeah.
And he's wearing, all his suits are too tight. He looks bad. Like clearly he looks like he works out. And he mentioned this in his speech. He was just like, if I have time to get up and make my body perfect, then you disgusting. It really reminded me of from It's Always Sunny, the character Mac, who's secretly gay and constantly talking about his body and men's bodies and just how hot or gross they are, and just being disgusted by fat people, even though he's not himself the paragon of health. But I have a couple more clips from this that I think were hilarious.
To our enemies, FAFO. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength.
So he's saying, fuck around, find out. But again, he's just like meme poisoned brain.
It's like a high school boy got.
It is like a high school
put
boy.
In this position, yeah.
And he's just like, hey, this is going to sound really cool. And the crowd is just like, Yeah, dude. Okay. Sure.
And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not...
No more Dominicans, no more Puerto Ricans.
You're right. I didn't think about this, but it is almost kind of homoerotic. He's like, there is an ideal man, and you will be my ideal version of the ideal man.
Apparently, those shaving standards were the beard standards were somewhat laxed because they started to integrate the military, and that rule has been around for a long time because the way that, you know, black men's facial hair grows, like if you shave it close to the face or just shave it all off, it starts to get bumpy and like really uncomfortable, and you can develop skin conditions. And so he's just like, no, I'd rather my troops have just really awful skin conditions in the field.
I mean, he'd rather have all white troops, honestly.
True. Yeah.
Also, I imagine there's probably some religious exemptions, like if you were a Muslim man and you wanted to keep a beard.
No, you shouldn't be in the military.
I mean, you shouldn't, but they are.
Yeah.
Meet the male level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession. I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts. On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership.
All right.
I like that he's using the language of toxicity because they come in and they're like, what you define as toxic, we define as woke, and we're no longer woke. So logistically, that should mean that you're then toxic. But he's like, we're not toxic. It's not toxic to be toxic, even though we are toxic.
I think you're right. It's also like kind of the overuse of online language.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's hard to cue these up on the phone.
I think that's also enough of heads up for me personally.
No, this is Trump. There's like a couple more that I wanted to play that I think are important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that there's just kind of a lot of like online language run amok too, this idea of like toxic people and whatever. It's again, very like high school kind of like version of therapy language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this? Is Trump?
Thank you very much, Pete. Great job you're doing, too. Fantastic job. I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future.
Apparently, the troops were told ahead of time not to try as much as they possibly could, not to show emotion, which makes sense.
Maybe that's why he was saying that. Okay, and then this is one clip that I thought was incredible. Yeah, here. It's Trump again.
Throw around, because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them. If it does get to use, we have more than anybody else. We have better, we have newer.
Oh, God.
But it's something we don't ever want to even have.
So we have better, newer ends than anyone else has.
Oh,
and you're
God.
just like the N-word. And then he's like, wait, hold on. Hold on. It's already used to refer to something. There are two N-words. It's like when Biden was asked how many genders are there, and he's like,
More
shit.
than two.
He's like, at least 3.
That was actually kind of a cute moment.
But there are at least 3 genders and 2 N-words.
So there was one thing that did come out that was scary that he said, which is not surprising because they've already been doing this, but essentially he's had a couple of lines about wanting to use American cities as training grounds for war abroad.
So that's kind of what I I think it's easy to see this and be like, these are buffoons and they're foolish, and this is just entirely meme-addled and poisoned online brains running amok in the government. They don't know what they're doing. I think it's because they don't have the guts or the gumption or the appetite for a Saddam-style purge of their government and of the military. And they want to do it as passively as possible. And so they do want to create an embarrassing thing, and they do want to make the workplace, in this case the military, as unenjoyable as possible for the people who they see having got in on unmeritocratic systems. They want their thugs and people who in control, and they want everyone else to resign. And that's how they're going to do that purge.
Yeah, I think kind of to your point, I think they want the most compliant military possible that will not bat an eye at being
in Chicago
to American cities.
Yeah, going to Chicago.
And frankly, there is like a racial element to that too. I think it would help in their favor to have a mostly white and mostly male military. We already do, but to have an exclusively white and exclusively male military when essentially the subtext of what they're saying is like, we're going to go into the cities where there are large minority populations and suppress them so that we can practice for war abroad.
Yeah. In like 20 years, you can call that same meeting of generals and it'll just be like a Groiper who's just a 5-star general, and they're like, where did you serve, partner? And he's like, I served in Tallahassee, Florida, in Charlottesville, Virginia. Actually, those wouldn't be the places. They'd be like, I served in Portland, sir, Chicago, and I did a tour in New York City. Yeah.
Under Mamdani's caliphate.
Yeah. We pushed back the despot and warlord, Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man. It's not great.
Yeah. It's pretty gross. This is not a Pete Hegseth clip, but one that I wanted to play and I had queued. Speaking of militarized governments, this is those clips of like all the Pakistani students who get up and their teacher gives them the mic and they're like, I love Pakistan.
I showed you those initially.
I
was the first person to show you those.
I will die for Pakistan. I love Pakistan. This was one that I really appreciated.
I can't promise anything, but I'll do everything in my way to help Pakistan. That's great.
Do you have any context for this clip?
No, this is
not everyone gets all of your online references. You should provide some context.
There is no context. I provided it. I was like, it's the kids who are, that's
You're saying that's like what the military is supposed to be giving?
No, this is just, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I just like that she's just like, I can't promise anything.
She gives like a caveat.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the military parade meeting?
Oh, I kind of actually do believe that this is, like I said, I think there's a very clear through line from watching Pete Hegseth to Andy Elliott and these toxic masculinity people.
So who's Andy Elliott?
Andy Elliott is this masculinity influencer who I see on TikTok every once in a while. And his thing is going into like regional car dealerships and being like, if you're not eating a 5,000 calorie breakfast and doing testosterone and doing 500 pull-ups a day, you stupid fat lazy piece of shit, and then going to work and selling 500 cars a day, you're letting your family down. And if your wife cheats on you, then that's your own fault. You're disgusting and you're worth nothing. So he like takes that military warrior ethos to something as mundane as selling a used Buick. But this is like a short clip of him talking to his crowd. So you get a sense of what he's like. And you can look at him and he's just
very average looking.
Yeah, he's like a guy who works out. He's probably on roids for his age. And again, like the tight pants and the tight shirt sort of thing.
And you're just saying that this reminds you
of
Hegseth.
Okay. I think Hegseth watched an Andy Elliott video and was like, yeah, this guy rocks.
I'm going to tell you this, my entire company, my entire team, if you don't have a six-pack, you don't work for us. No, I know. It's called, everybody say standard. How about we raise them? How about we raise them? How about we raise them? How about you guys quit getting civilized and you guys quit settling? There's some people in this room that said, I would sue my my company if they told me I had to have a six-pack. We know you would. That conversation was for the 1%ers. That wasn't for you.
Yes, very similar vibes. You're right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if we're supposed to, he said to quit getting civilized, but then everyone like, Charlie Kirk and all these Western values warriors are like, we're fighting for civilization. Yeah, so it's very mixed messaging. I don't know if I'm supposed to be getting civilized or less civilized. I need all my masculinity influencers to just get in a room and figure out the messaging.
It's weird to think about how this like manosphere kind of space that was very online is now like walking around real life.
It's fun. It's like that episode it's that Treehouse of Horror episode where the lard lad comes to life and the Pet Boys and all those people.
I don't know, but that sounds like a good analogy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I had anything else. I'm gonna skip my other clips. That's it.
I had an article that I think we both read but haven't talked about yet. We don't have to read the article. I just wanted to kind of talk about if it made you feel anything and your impression of it. It was called House Arab by Ismail Ibrahim. Mm-hmm. So former writer for The New Yorker. Love that it started off with a little like ironic cartoon, very much kind of mocking the New Yorker style.
What's the cartoon?
I worry that we have fundamentally misunderstood Hamas. It's like a couple in bed.
Oh.
But the whole thing is just kind of about him kind of, I think this resonated with a lot of people who are in professions or who consider themselves or considered by others to be intellectuals, kind of quote unquote life of the mind stuff. And just kind of the incredible dissonance between working with people who are supposed to be intellectuals who like have no basic sympathy for people who look like you or who share an identity with you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Any thoughts that you had? I mean, I'll say
I haven't read it.
Oh, I thought you had.
No.
Because I sent it to you and you were like, oh, we should talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Did you read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent it to you because I had read it.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should read it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really sad, but beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say more.
Sure. I can read a little bit of it now if you want.
I didn't do my homework.
That's okay. That's okay. Also, even the title House Arab is like, a reference to Malcolm X. And the idea of the kind of controversial idea when he articulated it of
house slave,
right? Of like enslaved people who are working in the house versus in the fields. And so I think Ismail is kind of calling himself like a house Arab, like someone who was cultivated to be one of the few that were in the establishment, who can no longer really find that palatable. I can just read a little bit of the beginning of it. I was working he never says New Yorker, which is also brilliant too, but you immediately know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was working, and then you can look him up too and see, but I was working at the magazine as a fact checker, and my parents no longer considered me a failure, not because they read or admired it, but because they said its name to friends and relatives. It sparkled on their tongues. I still wasn't a doctor or engineer, but the publication cast a flattering light on them, revealing them to be open-minded enough to let me pursue a non-traditional field, yet strict enough to propel me to its most rarefied strata. I liked to name drop where I worked too, especially when meeting someone for the first time, although I made a point of not bringing it up until I was asked. For almost 2 years, things went smoothly. I had insurance and I was making more money than ever before. Keeps on going. And then he talks about like how his editor...
Real quick, make sure your cord's not touching your laptop because it might create a buzz.
Okay. He talks about how his editor... realized that his position on the Iraq war was a mistake, but talks about it in a super blasé way. Like, it was just the times, like, I regret it. And then kind of keeps on going to post October 7th, what it looked like to be working there. Mm-hmm. So just kind of fast forwarding a little bit, around 4 months into the war in Gaza, scholars of genocide were reaching a consensus that what was happening in Palestine was a genocide, the crime of crimes, and I waited for the magazine to say so too. I tried talking to the editor-in-chief about using the word in our coverage, but he said he didn't think it was a genocide. And so, like, on this very kind of like technical bureaucratic level, he's trying to exert the kind of little power that he has within the magazine to kind of, he creates like a style sheet for how to talk about the genocide. He like tries to do all these things and they're just like entirely ignored, and his coworkers just kind of over time stopped talking to him. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he quits, like, spoiler alert, and just talks about the freedom of, like, not having to pretend or be, like, the person who they get to say is on staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I know Mona Chalabi also talks a lot about this too, about how few Arabs there are in these newsrooms or editorial rooms that get to give their point of view, or how hostile the editorial newspaper establishment is to those kind of perspectives.
Yeah, and you played me a podcast where she was talking about, like, just how difficult those decisions are, because you know, she is such a wonderful journalist and she wants her work to be seen because it's important, and she wants access to the resources that, you know, places like the Times have, but then kind of squaring that with the way that they've covered the genocide is really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also, I mean, everyone's talking about, I think we mentioned this last time about CBS taking Kimmel off the air. Similar thing with Colbert had happened, and now the Wall Street Journal, owned by Bezos. No, sorry, Washington Post, owned by Bezos. You know, a year ago, he came out and said that we're not going to have editorials that talk against the values of free market capitalism and whatever else, American patriotism. I'm not really sure. The New York Times hasn't come out and, you know, said anything like that, like we're going to stand for these values, etc. I think they have a more subtle, deft hand, but I think at the end of the day, they are just a paper of empire, and sometimes they're going to be critical, but not if it goes against their financial well-being.
I think you had a good point last episode.
Oh, sorry, that was New Yorker, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
New York Times and New Yorker.
But yeah, I think you could totally say the same for both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you also had a good point last episode that, like, I personally did find the Kimmel stuff scary, and, like, I was glad there was outrage, but it is interesting, like, there are so many journalists who have been in such difficult positions this last year, whether you're thinking about, like, journalists who are trying to accurately portray Palestine here in the US, or if you're thinking about, I mean, the deep horrors of the number of Palestinian journalists who have been, like, you know, actively targeted by the Israeli military. So it does feel kind of weird to have, like, all this outrage for, like, comedians and, like, his kind of beloved white male figures, but not for, like, other journalists doing important work.
And I said it last time, but I think the outrage is, I don't want to say misplaced, but at the end of the day, the outrage should be against these media conglomerates and the consolidation of media, because the consolidation of these media empires is what makes them so easy to control, right? The billionaires who own them obviously want to get richer, and it doesn't matter. They can do it with or without Kimmel. And if he's in the way of a deal of theirs or whatever, yeah, sure, like, get rid of him, jettison him. It doesn't really matter. It's not like he's super important. But if they had done the calculation the other way, and, you know, it turns out that Kimmel was such a heavy hitter that losing him would have cost them more money than whatever deal they were trying to salvage with the Trump administration, I guarantee you they would have stood up for Kimmel.
I mean, he's back on air, so.
He's back on air, yeah. But
yeah, I think we kind of, I won't get back into it again, but I still think there's something a little bit different with the federal government's role. But I do hear your point that, like, media is, do you think media is to blame partially?
I think the way that government and control works is obviously like a, you know, joint venture between government and the media. So you're able to kind of control what's in the culture through the media. And obviously they, like, you know, they work together, not separate, totally separate, apart from each other. It's, I think there's a significant amount of overlap between the media conglomerates and government.
But I think, like, I don't know, like, I don't fully agree with that, but I guess actually I don't necessarily want to go onto a tangent. I mean, we can if you want. I think, like, NPR, for example, like, is currently going without federal funding and still trying to report. Like, I think there's a decent amount of distance. I think what's scary to me is that the Trump administration could completely erase that distance, and we'd only have state-sponsored media. But
yeah, NPR is not like a massive, like, private enterprise, though, you know? And also NPR has avoided reporting things certain ways to avoid getting its funding severely cut, not just from federal government, but from its private donors as well. Yeah.
Anything else on that?
I think maybe somewhat related is in terms of like intellectuals who are kind of out there and not really talking about things the way that they should be for one reason or another. But I wanted to talk about the Kamala Harris segment on Maddow. Did you hear anything from this?
No, I've read like sections of her book going around, but I don't think I saw that segment.
So she's on the book tour, and she was on an interview with Maddow the other day, and finally talking about how awful what's happening in Gaza is.
Oh, I did hear this. Yeah.
I'll play a few clips. I'll slide them in after because I don't have them queued up. But yeah, there were the clips of her talking about Gaza, which is just so offensive because she's acting as if now Trump is the one doing it when all she and Biden did was like just prepare the runway for Trump. And then the other thing that I thought was funny was that she was talking about authoritarianism. One, she called Trump a communist.
What?
Yeah. Two, she also talking about the level of the level of authoritarianism and totalitarianism in the country. She was saying like, I was hoping the oligarchs would save us.
Yeah, no, she was also like saying things like she thought that like private companies and like tech would step in.
She's like
I don't know why she would think that.
Are you actually stupid? Like when, I just don't understand how someone could get up there and say like, I thought the billionaires who my administration ostensibly fought and critiqued, and my party, although it was never serious about it, paid lip service to the idea of taxing them and decreasing their power and having freer and fairer elections without all this like corporate financing and stuff like that. You're like, oh, I actually thought those guys who I talked about all the time were going to be the ones who save American democracy.
It's so awkward. Actually, the Times had a pretty good blistering analysis of her book. It was pretty funny. But yeah, she's kind of going back and forth between like, please still give me money in the future if I run, and we have to redo everything. We have to have populist campaigns. It's like you actually can't have it both ways. You have to pick a lane.
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
I hope my wish for her is that Gavin Newsom gets the Democratic nomination.
Oh, I don't
in
wish
2028.
that. I hope we get someone better than Gavin.
Well, yeah, I hope so too, but I don't have any faith that the Democratic Party is going to nominate anyone better. So they're probably going to nominate gruesome Newsom, and then he makes Kamala Harris just the vice presidential pick, and for the rest of her life, she's just perennial VP.
I don't have any wishes for her. I really just want someone to run who was less establishment. She also had a ridiculous lip service to being like, I tried talking to Biden about Gaza. And like,
oh my God.
She also, which is really stupid, was kind of like, I was so offended that protesters were showing up to our rallies. Like, why weren't they protesting Trump? And like, of course, people who are pro-Palestine are also protesting Trump now that he's in power. But the whole idea was to try and sway you to have better positions.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, I know, it was bad. Any more on that? I've got another news item.
Fuck you, Kamala.
Okay, fair.
Okay, what else?
This made me really upset last night. So this is from the Daily Tar Heel, which is the excellent student-run paper at UNC Chapel Hill, which is where I did my PhD, where I lived for 5 years, where Ahmed and I met, essentially. Like, we both lived in the Triangle. I lived in Carborough, which is right outside of Chapel Hill. He lived in Raleigh. We did the whole Triangle, basically, and then we moved to Durham. So yeah, we met in North Carolina in the Triangle area. So the headline is UNC professor placed on leave following alleged affiliation with anti-racist, anti-fascist organization. And the thing that's really terrifying about this is it's not as if there's like a specific allegation for something he said in class or an action he took. It's literally just his organizational affiliation. So UNC administration placed Dwayne Dixon, a professor of Asian and Middle Eastern Studies, on administrative leave on Monday, effective immediately. The decision follows reports of Dixon's alleged affiliation with Redneck Revolt, an organization that describes itself as an anti-racist, anti-fascist community defense formation. First of all, what a great name. Love that. Love Redneck Revolt. That's really funny. The UNC Vice Chancellor for Communications, Dean Stoyer, confirmed in a statement to Fox News that the university has informed Dixon of his placement on administrative leave. And there's some more information here about the organization, founded in 2016. It's a network that promotes working class solidarity through mutual aid, anti-racist organizing, and in some chapters, armed training under the name John Brown Gun Clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Massive fuck you to these people who are so pro-gun, but not when liberals are getting together. Like, I'm not pro-gun. As I've said before, I'm very uncomfortable with anyone having guns, including liberals. But it is, as the NRA has made clear, absolutely your right currently in the U.S. to get together with your friends and practice if you so choose. And it's just so fucking hypocritical that he is getting like, yeah, that he like is losing his job over his affiliation with this group.
Yeah. I know what I know of Redneck Revolt because I used to know a few people in it. I don't think they would describe themselves as liberals. It kind of, I think the membership ranges from like anarchist leftist, to like communist. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, like in some ways, like nothing new, right? Like what was that incident when a lot of like Black Panther members marched into like a California, I think it was California.
Yeah. It got California to change their
regulation,
laws.
meaning, yeah, because they marched in there and were like, yeah, we're going to open carry if you're going to allow people to. Yeah. And they were like, oh no.
I mean, I guess what's different here is that this guy lost his job, but they did not amending the laws or just applying them selectively. Yeah. I mean, and I think like so much else that's happening currently in the U.S., this is something that was already in the making, mm-hmm. like particularly thinking about the North Carolina system, but thinking about so many college systems across this country in either red states or purple states. There was like an increasing amount of like encroachment on like right to free speech. There was more and more like dog whistles and overt pressure on professors and administrators to kind of like teach curriculum in certain ways. So like this has been in the making. Honestly, it sounds like for decades, like even before I got to Carolina.
Yeah.
But it is an acceleration for sure. I mean, even like we've got a good friend who had some pressure against her for a class she was teaching. I think if that was happening now, I don't think she would have been able to stay enrolled. And the comments were so lovely, like, but it just like is really depressing to think about. Like, I mean, this is the kind of like full break on free speech that will make academia pretty meaningless if it like continues in this direction, which it looks like it's going to.
Yeah, the idea that you would be fired or placed on leave for your involvement in an outside group is, I mean, I don't know. Like, there are probably professors somewhere at some university who are members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans or Proud Boys, maybe, or, you know, so like any number of just distasteful groups on the other side of the political spectrum. But, yeah, I don't know how you would deal with it because we're just fully in a society. Fundamentally, this is a labor issue, right? It's an infringement on free speech and should be treated as such. The same way that I would be like, yeah, maybe the ACLU should step in if there was a professor who was a member of Sons of Confederate Veterans, as long as he wasn't like talking to his students about the glory of the Confederate South.
I don't know if we even have to personally do that kind of like both sidesism. Like this isn't the Sons of the Confederates. Do you know what I mean? Like I hear what you're saying that like legally that's a strategic move, but just like I think it's okay to say that morally those things are obviously not equivalent.
That's how we feel, right? But we're creating systems and like we don't want like a system that is just like whoever's in power can fully bend it to their will.
I would love a system where like association with the Confederacy was illegal, but that's also so far from what the case in Carolina. I mean, when they had all the debates about the Confederate statue on campus coming down, the proposal the administration came up with was to sell it to the Sons of the Confederates. So like, yeah, that's, I think it's also like, I don't want to play into right talking points because the Confederacy and like the afterlives and remembrance of the Confederacy are embedded with campus. It's like totally a falsehood. And I'm not saying you, but like I do think that people on the right, and I'm talking far right here, I think there's still a little bit of distinction left. People who are essentially neo-Nazis and fascists, like they act as if they have been like cut off from power, but they really never were.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is like, I think fundamentally it's a labor issue. And the problem is that there aren't enough protections for workers exercising constitutionally protected rights outside of the workplace. And
that's why, sorry.
And I would want that to go both ways, like even when it's someone I don't like, because yeah, I think in this case, like why are we firing a professor? Like if they're competent at their job and there are measures of competency in the job that they're like meeting, then yeah, you shouldn't be able to just arbitrarily get rid of them.
What they're trying to do is make it, if you are part of any organization that like uses terms like anti-fascist, to make it seem as if you are like a domestic terrorist, or you're affiliated with domestic terrorism. But like, yeah, it's an incredibly insidious thing to do when we actually do have groups that could fall under that category, like
right,
pro-Confederacy groups and neo-Nazi groups. I think also, kind of to your point about labor, there's a reason why this is kind of hitting the South and hitting purple states the hardest first, and it's because of the lack of labor protections, right? Like North Carolina has a right to work state. There is no faculty union. And so people are a lot less protected. But I also feel really strongly about like, I think it's super easy sometimes for people in blue states to be like, oh my gosh, look at those crazies in the South, or look at those crazies in these purple states. Like everything that has happened in Florida a decade before is now affecting like the entire United States university system. Yeah. So really these places are kind of like testing grounds for these policies, and they will absolutely be implemented across the country. And so I think it's super important to not see it as like a them problem. Also, frankly, like UNC Chapel Hill is one of the strongest public universities in this country. It's an excellent university. And so I think there's like a reason why it's being targeted, because it is in a place where it is politically vulnerable. Yeah, I am really hopeful about the students, just because I feel like that was such a politically engaged student body. It was really heartening. I love my current university and I love my students, and I have many students who are deeply politically engaged, but the numbers are not the same in terms of like the percentage of the student body. And so I am hopeful. I mean, the students have accomplished a lot over the last like decade, and I think they'll continue to. I'm hopeful that they'll push back.
I'm less optimistic, just because I think there was like a very severe crackdown in disciplining on students in the last 2 years, even on Chapel Hill's campus. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't know what appetite there is for really militant, coordinated student action to push back against this sort of stuff, rather than just, like a protest here or there. But I think that mixed with the really awful labor market that the students are graduating into, that makes them a lot more precarious and vulnerable. Like if they are disciplined as students, or if they don't have recommendations, or anything like that, it definitely has a chilling effect on your willingness to take part in real consequential action.
No, for sure. I don't mean to imply that the stakes aren't high, or that it won't be difficult, but just in terms of like the number of actions and the level of coordination, it is definitely on a much higher level than my current university. I mean, because also like the post October 7th discourse and demonstrations on campus was not by any means the first go around. Even on Palestine, for that campus, we had massive demonstrations and protests around the pulling of Title IX from our Middle East Center, which happened, years before October 7th. We've had massive demonstrations and organizations around the Silent Sam Confederate monument. And like there were students who were expelled from that. So I'm not saying like, oh, it turned out well for everyone. There are absolutely people who have arrest records. Yeah. But in my opinion, that student body is very disciplined and organized in a way that I think should be complimented. And it's definitely way more active than like NC State or than Duke University. Like it's the most active in the area. Like for the encampments, like students largely came to that campus from those other two.
Yeah.
I mean, Duke is very much like there are great students everywhere, but I do think that a lot of like large public universities that are highly ranked, like Berkeley, Chapel Hill, Michigan, are putting up good fights, and that the fights that are happening there are super important. I think, frankly, part of the distinction also has to come down to that, though I am technically at a public university, it is like as privatized as a public university can be, which is really interesting. And I'm only... Whoops. I'm only kind of starting to understand that really now in terms of how that affects like who's able to afford to go to our university and the demographics. And I think a lot plays into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have that many working class students, frankly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to read some of the comments that people wrote on Instagram on the Daily Tar Heel piece because I thought they were so sweet. Dwayne is one of the most important professors I have ever had. The purge of academia will not end with him. It's tragic to watch my alma mater cave to fascism. This guy sounds fucking awesome. Dwayne Dixon is the most badass professor I've ever had. Kind, thoughtful, and fiercely passionate about our community's well-being. So UNC is pro-fascism and pro-racism openly. Dwayne was by far one of the best professors I had in college. He was brilliant and accessible and very important to my education. Someone said, I can't believe I'm finding out my professor's been placed on leave from Instagram. Yeah, just a lot of like support for the professor, which is nice to see. All right, I've got 3 lighter-hearted items to round us out. Do you have anything else you wanted to go through first?
I got a story about another public intellectual of ours, Peter Thiel. I don't know if you've heard about what he's been up to.
No, what's he doing?
So Peter Thiel has been on a speaking circuit going around talking about the Antichrist.
What?
And for those of you who don't know, Peter Thiel is just like one of the PayPal mafia people. He's a billionaire after selling the company. And he's like super libertarian, very against government, but has become one of these dark web intellectuals that people look to. He's gay, which...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think is something that maybe he hates within himself. It's hard to tell, but there were suspicious circumstances about like a much younger man that he was dating, who ended up killing himself.
Oh, geez.
So there's that. You know, he's like one of these AI will rule us, and we should also try to like live forever. Eugenicists. It's a weird mishmash of like ideologies and just kind of like stalking horse issues that he is made up of. But anyway, so he's apparently really interested in the Antichrist and has been going around to universities and giving these private lectures. This story's in Wired called The Real Stakes, The Real Story of Peter Thiel's Antichrist Obsession. Subtitled, 30 years ago, a peace-loving Austrian theologian spoke to Peter Thiel about the apocalyptic theories of Nazi jurist Carl Schmitt.
Oh my God.
They have been a roadmap for the billionaire ever since. The story starts off. Peter Thiel's Armageddon speaking tour has, like the world, not ended yet. For a full 2 years now, the billionaire has been on the circuit spreading his biblically inflected ideas about doomsday through a set of variably and sometimes visibly perplexed interviewers. He has chatted on stage with the Economist podcaster Tyler Cohen about the catacon, the scriptural term for that which withholds the end times. Traded some very awkward on-camera silences with the New York Times columnist Ross Douthat. Did you see that?
No.
By any chance? I've seen clips of it, but Ross... let's try to slide the clips in here. But Ross Douthat asks him, he's like, do you think the human race should like continue to exist? And he's just like...
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in this.
the human race survive?
Yeah.
And he's like sweaty. He's like just like so moist. He looks like he does look like he is the Antichrist.
I was gonna say, is he trying to tell us something?
And his like real demonic form is just struggling to stay within his human skin is really what he looks like. It goes on to kind of talk about how he thinks that anyone who is trying to regulate AI is the Antichrist.
Oh, what a great plot twist.
Yeah, so like it seems like this is like very much married with his attempt to proliferate AI through all of our lives and to kind of create this digital panopticon. So Thiel is also one of the founders of Palantir, right? Like the spying company. Really, all these PayPal mafia guys are they're kind of like the horsemen of the apocalypse. Like there's the other one, Brian Johnson or something like that.
So maybe they are on something, that they are bringing in the end times, you know?
The other one is like obsessed with staying alive forever and like being like reverse aging. Have you seen that guy?
No.
He does weird like blood transfusion stuff.
Oh, you've mentioned him
He
before,
measures his son's boners.
Yeah. You told me about
like
him.
does all this crazy shit. So
very weird, very like mad scientist, evil guy
Yeah.
behavior. Strange. It's also interesting to see his kind of thorough through with like his obsession with like the rapture and the end times. Like it's weird that that's being so caught up with like profit.
that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if this man is sincerely spiritual,
Or if he's just trying to like.
but
use
they
this
are
to-
mixing spiritual language, and everyone now is talking about spiritual warfare.
Yeah, I mean that's like the evangelical guys I was talking about. Yeah.
No, it's like a very weird marriage of like, I don't know.
It's like tech, politics, and spiritual.
I never thought I would see a through line between like a 24-year-old blonde mother of like 5 kids who lives on a farm talking about spiritual warfare. I never thought I'd see like a through line between her and Peter Thiel.
Maybe you're onto something that like cynically it really helps to mobilize people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also, some level of irony and contradiction, right? Because Peter Thiel, again, is this libertarian guy who supports people leaving, traditional institutions like universities and he started his own kind of Thiel scholarship where he pays students to drop out.
I mean, a lot of those people, like a lot of, if we're talking more working class people who see themselves as spiritual warriors, are also anti like establishment, anti university. Yeah.
And he's super against, government regulation, especially of like tech and AI. And he's saying
Shocker.
like these people who want to regulate tech or regulate AI are trying to bring about the Antichrist and create a one world government that's susceptible to the Antichrist. But I'm like, that's the end point of just unfettered capitalism.
Totally.
Right? Like your capital has no loyalty to America as a nation. As soon as you've extracted what you can from the labor force here, you're just going to take that somewhere else and you're going to continue to acquire and accumulate until there is just one world government. It's just ruled by you and your people.
That's why we have to make sure that like leftist movements are also using spiritual language if they want to, that they don't feel that they don't deserve that terrain. Like thinking about like, what was his name? Like William Barber, the North Carolina guy who was the Moral Mondays. Like, I think we need to really keep about that kind of momentum because like ultimately this should be like a class conversation, right? Like the kind of one state, techno state thing this guy is trying to create is not going to help this woman in the middle of the US who has 5 kids, who's listening to sermons, like he's not serving in her interests. Like,
I think I would have agreed with you a while ago, but now just hearing all this talk of spiritual warfare and good and evil, I'm so burnt out on spirituality.
What are you talking about? You and I use that talk a lot for how we think about the world.
How we think about the world, but how we govern the world. Like I'm
not saying that there should be like theocratic states. I'm just saying that like there still is room for progressive organizing that uses the language of spirituality and that uses like religious institutions if they want to. I don't even think that's the only way forward, but I think it is a way forward.
I think between us, I think we do because we sincerely hold some of these beliefs. But now when I guess what I'm saying is when I hear someone like Peter Thiel or just anyone who's in the public eye using that language, I'm just like, I don't believe it. It just comes off as
That's my whole point is like, why do they get to own that language? I mean, think about like
and I'm not even talking just about them. I'm talking about people who we think of being on the left too. I'm just like, it feels hack.
Okay, but whatever. I mean, it's God. They don't get to make it hack. Like, fuck them. You know what I mean? If you think about some of like the best progressive organizers that we knew in North Carolina, their work was very rooted in spirituality and thinking about like religious community.
Yeah, but they're not running for a nomination on the Democratic Party. I guess if Gavin Newsom came out tomorrow,
you just hate the Democratic Party anyways. That's not really relevant. I'm talking about progressive.
My point is that if you're working within. It depends on how you're working, right? Like if you're running for fucking president and you're using this language of spirituality and cosmic good and evil and all this stuff. I'm like, bro, you're running for the head of an empire.
Right. I mean, I think your critique is actually of empire and not of the religiosity is my point. Like it's less like religion itself and more how it's being utilized, to what end it's being utilized.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
What else?
I don't know. Okay, I've got. Wow, we had a lot to talk about. I guess we haven't talked for a while.
There's a lot of news stuff happening.
All right, I've got 3 more things to close us out.
3. Wow. Pick 2.
No.
Yeah, you do this to me all the time. You're like,
I know,
2.
but I don't normally have so many items,
No,
so
pick
I refuse
2.
to
Here
cut.
we go.
No.
Okay, so you don't get to do this to me in the future.
Yes, I do.
Nope.
Okay, one, I don't have anything to read or anything. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Oh shit! Actually, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. That was gonna be the one I was gonna cut too. So aren't you glad?
Wow. I mean, what is there to say about the Riyadh Comedy Festival other than I'm sure it's gonna be a really good time?
I think it's embarrassing. I think I think what makes it embarrassing to me is that it's not just like you're going to perform in Saudi one-off, which like even that, whatever, questionable. But this is clearly being done to sanitize the kingdom's legacy. Like it's clearly like a publicity stunt to be like Saudi good. And this list of people is fucking annoying.
Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, Mo Amer.
No.
Yeah.
No way. Mo Amer's they're going? Oh shit.
American, yeah.
That's crazy. I did not see him on the poster. I thought
Louis
I saw
C.K., whatever.
Louis C.K., yeah.
Dave Chappelle, also Muslim.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson, whatever. Kevin Hart, whatever. Maz Jobrani.
Pete Davidson's hilarious because didn't his dad die in 9/11?
That's a really fucked up thing to say.
Huh?
I don't know, but that's such a fucked up thing to say.
I think his dad died in 9/11 and now he's going to go do comedy in Saudi?
It's not like, okay, Saudi sucks, but it's not like they are uniquely, completely responsible for 9/11.
Okay. I mean, this is like if the nephew of Jamal Khashoggi went and did.
Do you think it's that direct of a connection?
I mean, the funding is pretty, like you can tie some of the funding for Al-Qaeda to.
I wasn't going to go there, but okay. Maz Jobrani, who also was like a really big comedian.
I hate Maz Jobrani
for the
so
Axis
much.
of Evil stuff, but like someone I wouldn't expect to see here, you know. Sam Morrill, who I really like.
Yep, saw that.
Yeah, just really dumb, I feel.
It's funny. Aziz Ansari I can understand.
Yeah, whatever. He's
because
dumb.
Because his career got entirely fucked up from that story about him
the bad sex.
doing the weird sex stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's getting paid a lot of money to go there. But there's who's the other guy that's really popular now?
Sebastian Mancilio? I don't see a Steve here.
Maniscalco. I don't remember.
Okay.
Andrew Schultz. He's going. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it just seems kind of like a stupid thing to do. I hope that of course they're going to have to, I think, edit
Kevin
themselves.
Hart is going.
Like, I think they're going to have to massively edit themselves. Like, I don't think they could actually, apparently there was one guy, I forget who was like disinvited because it turned out he had made jokes about the Saudis and slavery.
Someone dropped out too.
Yes, I saw that. I don't remember who.
I can't remember.
And a number of comedians have said I was asked but decided not to go.
Yeah. I mean, are there still tickets?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, are you trying to go?
I would be scared to go because, especially as a comedian, it's the bravest thing you can do is go perform in Saudi.
No, it's not. What are you talking about?
Jamal Khashoggi wrote like a story that they didn't like and they chopped him up into pieces and put him in a suitcase. Imagine if you go and like do a joke that the king doesn't like. What are they going to do to you?
I don't think
you're there. You're not even in Turkey.
I don't think it's brave though. I think it just shows that they'll do anything for money. Like I don't think they're going to make jokes at the Saudi king's expense for that reason.
I think it's incredibly brave what they're
God.
doing. So,
I don't think so.
Hats off to them.
All right, next item.
But on a real note, actually, I mean, Saudi's just been, like you said, sanitizing its image through acquiring through its massive sovereign wealth fund and the royal, family wealth, all these cultural touchstones, right? So they acquired a lot of soccer stars for their soccer team, like beloved soccer players from around the world. the
like a
live
huge PR campaign, essentially. Yeah.
the golf tour. So they forced, I think, the merger of Live and the PGA or whatever golf tours, and now they're getting into comedy. They're funding a lot more films, a lot more music production. So it's hard to see that as separate and apart from abandoning Palestinians, because it's just very clear that what Saudi cares about is making sure that it can stake out its claim to its part of the Gulf, and make sure that it can live side by side with Israel as Israel expands toward Saudi Arabia. And they're like, okay, well, as long as it's not within our borders, we don't really care. Like, they literally just struck one of their neighbors, and Saudi's like, whatever. Like, you don't hear anything from Saudi or from Emirates. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent point. Like, it is funny, but I'm glad that, I think you couldn't have said it better. Like, the stakes are pretty high in terms of normalizing them as a state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really are just trying to grow beyond just like an oil-rich state, and they have. It'll be interesting to see what it's like in a couple decades when, I just think inevitably this $1 trillion project in the desert is not going to go well.
Yeah.
And what does the economy look like? Have they diversified and grown it enough and grown the population enough that
do they finally stop
itself?
being such fucking racist and letting people actually become Saudi citizens who weren't born there? Yeah.
I
can't
don't
see them
think
doing
so.
that, but
I just think also like the laws of their economy to keep the rich that rich, you need to have like a massive underpaid class of people.
It's essentially
or
indentured
slaves.
slavery. Yeah, indentured labor.
And I don't know. Like, it seems like there just has to be a breaking point.
I agree. I'm never going there, like, unless there's regime change. Yeah.
But they are starting to buy a lot more military equipment and stuff. And
Great.
I think they are probably looking for another go at Yemen, probably. So I don't know. We'll see. I think they are probably taking notes on how Israel is continuing the war in Gaza with their eye turned toward Yemen.
Ugh. Yeah. All right, 2 lighthearted things to play us out. Iranian diplomats in the U.S. are barred from shopping at Costco.
Oh, yeah, you told me this.
You didn't think it was real. You thought it was AI.
No, I immediately told you. I was like, that's an AI story.
It's real.
That's the stupidest thing.
As the UN General Assembly met in New York, the Trump administration forbade the Iranian delegation from shopping at discount wholesalers, an apparent bid to inflame Iranian public opinion. Mm-hmm. So this is obviously like petty and dumb, but I just thought it was so funny because apparently like the Iranian diplomats really love Costco.
Yeah.
And not to like, well, I guess to paint all people with a broad brush. I mean, I'm not Iranian, but my dad's Pakistani and he just like loves Costco so much. Like, and I just feel like all brown dads love Costco.
Yeah.
Like of any, like all like brown, like the most large category of brown you could think of, they all love Costco. And I just thought that was so funny that this was like a way to like bother them. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very petty.
Honestly kind of funny. Okay, I've just got a cute clip. That's our last clip. Wow, I feel like the little tyrant of this episode.
Yeah, you are.
It's really fun. I just thought this was so cute. I don't even ever play clips. Do I just put it here?
Near the speaker.
Okay. I just saw this on Instagram. I thought it was so cute.
Hold the mic up to
On
the...
the way back, and then I came across this kind of decadent cake shop. Is this one of these late night Muslim cake shops? Yes! Have you seen these? I didn't know about these.
It's because they don't booze.
Oh,
they eat cakes late at night.
So these fuckers are in there just fucking huffing cake. I was like, say 10:30. I was like, what in God's name is going on here? There's no one on the street. Like, the place is quiet. It's London on a fucking Monday night. And this place, this little cake shop is bopping with Mohammeds and Ahmeds are just stuffing fucking carrot cake down their gullet.
Yes, the late night Muslim cake shop, which is a great name for like a sketch show.
Yeah, late night Muslim cake shop. So I go in and it was like kind of Willy Wonka's. He was like, what cake can I get for you? Lad, I'm not joking you. and this is not hyperbole, but this was the nicest slice of cake. He's like, for you, the milk cake. And I was like, did someone tell you? Like,
That's racism.
But to know.
You've walked in as the only white man in the room and he's gone, milk cake for this cunt.
And I was like, oh yeah, and I'm a dairy farmer. I mean, he couldn't have
So
spotted.
did you ask for a suggestion?
Yes.
Oh, he said, what would you recommend?
If you find a big fat Muslim cake, man, you don't decide what cake you're going to get. Anyway.
You just had a really nice slice of cake and now you're a Muslim?
And now I'm a Muslim.
That's so good for you.
Anyway, I just thought that was really cute. It's these two guys, Mike Rice Comedy and Vittoria Angelone. I don't know who they are at all, but you don't look like you think it's so cute.
I'm glad they found the cake. I don't know. This is good.
I thought it was so sweet because I just kind of feel like, I don't know, here in the US we're finally getting some late night kind of like Muslim culture. Like there are like, I mean, mostly like the Yemeni coffee shops that started in Michigan have been like popping off at like cities across the country now, and like people will be out late. And
I don't think of them as cake shops.
Well, I think maybe it's just like how British people refer to it. Like, but they got it sounds like essentially like a milk cake.
They don't say cafes?
I don't know. I mean, you do get sweets at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that was so cute that they thought it was like so magical.
Yeah.
And also, I think they're kind of right. Like, I feel like they're onto something about like if you don't have substances, sometimes you indulge in other ways, like just staying up late, like having cake or like, you know, having sweets and coffee and stuff.
It's called leisure.
Yeah,
you know?
No,
People,
it's great.
They don't understand leisure and culture anymore.
Well, I think these guys appreciated it.
I know.
They thought it was a good time.
They think we've been doing that. That's the way to live.
Yeah, it's a good way
to live.
But it's also cute. Like, I think it's cute when you have Muslim minority populations and then like people get excited about those things.
Yeah, I love that stuff. When we go to Kahawa House and it's like super packed all the time, and like we're looking for a table, and then it's like mostly Desis, Arabs, and Muslim like people, and you see, you know, white people at a table, and you're just like, bro, out of deference, you should get up and give me this because this is like our space.
No, I think it's so cute. I think that
How dare you?
I think if anything, we got to reverse colonize. Like, I think that they should come to these spaces so there's more and more of them.
Yeah.
And there'll be less bars and more just like coffee cake shops that are open late.
It would be. That's my dream is that cafes proliferate little, you know, cities and neighborhoods the same way that bars have, because no one bats an eye when you have 5 different bars within a square mile or within like a city block or something like that. And they're all like a little bit different. Usually all bars kind of look the same, but you don't really get that with cafes. And I'm just like, you should have that.
Yeah.
Because they're great places to hang out. They're great places for social intercourse. And it's no coincidence that those being erased from our cities has also like coincided with far less dynamic cities and cities where people feel a lot more alienated.
I think we actually are where so much is going wrong. The one kind of cute positive thing that's happening right now is we are in a moment that actually a lot of like younger people are interested in not drinking or drinking less, and are kind of like excited about social alternatives. Not to say that like drinking in moderation is bad by any means, but it's kind of cool that there's more available in terms of socializing.
Yep.
And even like when the Yemeni coffee shop opened by my campus, it was so sweet to see like how excited the students were about it and how much of a kind of like micro phenomenon it is. Like they like had heard about it on TikTok and like seen it in other cities, and that Pittsburgh had one. Like it really kind of felt like a club opening, which is pretty adorable for like a coffee shop.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah.
It's sad that the vibes are more like a Target Gulf Arab state.
Okay, throwing major shade over
Yemen.
there, Mr. Caravanserai.
I think we should,
sweet.
you know, I think if you're an Arab and you open an Arab business with Arab things on the menu, you should
have rugs.
Yeah, you should try to actually make the space beautiful and not conform to these like gross gilded just minimalist aesthetics. It's really gross.
Well, when we take over America,
I find it very offensive.
When we make America a state under Sharia law, Ahmed will be the visor of aesthetics, and we will have excellent standards.
Yeah, I'll be the minister of it's like Hassam said. Shout out Hassam, minister of bread and maybe coffee shops. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
I'd take
way to
that
go.
position. I'd love that.
Nice.
And I would be very militant about it. I'd probably have like a
believe
little police force.
Yeah, they're going to spray people down with espresso. That actually sounds pretty violent. Maybe with like iced coffee.
Yeah.
You don't want to boil people.
Well, I would if it's
God.
in the endeavor to create more beautiful spaces.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Bye.